Before you hear this story, I suggest you don't watch it alone, especially if you have a weak heart. This isn't just horror, it's truly shocking. At 3 o'clock at night, the whole city was silent, except KFC, which stayed awake 24 hours. People came from far away, only to enjoy the smell of its fried chicken. Right in front of it, there was a brand which served the same type of chicken, crispy fry. But there, compared to KFC, very few customers came. Its owner, Mr. John, kept watching the long lines of customers outside KFC, his face marked with clear jealousy. KFC was offered a big chicken supply deal. In this deal, they were going to get so many chickens that the whole month the stock stayed full, and this deal was at a very good price. To attract customers, KFC spread this news all over the city. Only one day was left for the shipment. John thought somehow he could convince the supplier and sign this deal for his own brand. But when he contacted the supplier, he was badly mocked. Mr. John, do you really think we'd leave a brand like KFC to sign this deal with you? You must be insane, a total psychopath to even say such things. These words cut John so deeply, he felt he might actually go insane. But then, something terrifying happened. Something that shook the entire city. The very next morning, a strange news story spread across every media outlet.
In Salt Lake City, thousands of chickens from KFC's new shipment were found dead overnight. Investigators say the birds appear to have suffered before dying. This does not look like an accident. Officials suspect it was intentional.
As expected, John went mad with joy when he heard the news. He had succeeded in his plan. Yes, this was all John's plan. The moment the supplier humiliated him, John had decided he would never let this deal succeed. No matter what, he wanted to bring KFC down. For that, he contacted his scientist friend, Steve. Steve gave him a poison that could easily be mixed into the chicken's feed. Before the shipment even arrived, John sneaked into KFC's kitchen, and he poisoned their feed. That night, as soon as the chickens ate it, everything changed. They struggled all night, and finally took their last breaths. It was a painful death. Their cries echoed into the silent air while the entire city slept. There was no one to hear their screams. This incident spread fear across the whole city. Some even began to suspect maybe KFC had done this before. An investigation was launched. Police started digging into every detail. And during this time, John's informant told him the police suspected the deaths were caused by a chemical. That's why, by tomorrow morning, they planned to seal KFC's kitchen. Hearing this, John was shaken to the core. He felt the police were closing in. They already knew something had happened to the kitchen, and that a chemical was involved. Though John was confident he'd done everything carefully, a fear grew inside him. What if they found something in that kitchen that could expose him? So he made up his mind. That night, he would go back and check everything himself. As night fell, John put on the uniform of a KFC night cleaner. And with full confidence, he walked right inside so no one would suspect him. He was terrified, but still he had courage. As he moved toward the kitchen, he felt someone was following him. But when he turned around, no one was there. Suddenly, he heard the sound of someone crying. He tried to calm himself, telling his mind it was only an illusion, but the sound grew louder, closer. As he reached the source of the cries, he saw someone weeping in the dark. Nervously, he reached out and shook the man, but the figure didn't move. When John touched him again, the man slowly turned around. And when John saw his face, his blood ran cold. It was John himself. Seeing that face, it was as if the ground vanished beneath his feet. John ran as fast as he possibly could, but suddenly he realized his phone was missing. He remembered it must have slipped from his hand while running. He was terrified, but leaving his phone behind was an even greater risk. He went back. This time, everything looked normal. No sounds, no crying. To calm himself down, John decided to wash his face. But what he saw next left him in complete disbelief. As soon as he turned on the tap, a strange liquid began to pour out. It looked like blood. John, however, refused to accept it. It felt as though someone was taking revenge on him. He drifted into deep thought. Maybe someone is doing all this on purpose. Maybe to force me to confess my crime. But that will never happen. John finally reached home, but the terrifying face he had seen and that blood from the tap still haunted his mind. Disturbed and restless, he called Steve and told him everything in detail. Steve tried to calm him down, explaining that it was most likely a guilt-induced hallucination. He said that when extreme stress, lack of sleep, and guilt overstimulate the brain's visual and emotional centers, the mind can blur the line between imagination and reality, making fear feel so vivid it seems to appear right before one's eyes. John nodded and tried to accept Steve's words, but deep inside, he still wasn't convinced. That's why, the very next night, while the entire city slept, John returned to KFC. The moment he stepped inside, an uneasy feeling gripped his heart. With every step, the sense grew stronger, as if the moment of his death was drawing near. When he reached the kitchen, he was stunned by what he saw. The fryer was on, the mixture was ready, everything prepared to cook the chicken. But there was no chicken anywhere. And then on the wall, something caught his eye. For a moment, the world fell silent. The next day, the sight inside KFC's kitchen was so horrifying, it was difficult to put into words. Bloodstains were scattered across the floor. The white tiles were soaked in red, as if a battle had been fought there. The dim light only made the scene more unsettling, while the old smell of cooking oil still lingered in the air. A senior investigator wearing gloves stepped toward the fryer. He dipped a long spoon into the oil and stirred it gently. What surfaced was something no one could have believed: a fried human hand. The police immediately suspected John. Their previous investigation had already uncovered enough evidence to arrest him for poisoning the chickens. But now, he had disappeared. The police searched everywhere, but John was nowhere to be found. But the story took a shocking turn when police conducted DNA testing. The results revealed that the fried hand belonged to John himself. Since his disappearance, no one could say for certain whether he was alive or dead, but the evidence pointed more toward death, especially because the blood smeared across the kitchen floor was confirmed to be John's. But then came the bigger question: who did all this? 3 different theories began to circulate. First theory: some people believed the chickens themselves had taken revenge. On social media, comments flooded in. There is no doubt about it. This was done by the chickens. After the way John killed them so mercilessly, they had to take revenge. But many strongly oppose this idea, dismissing it as completely illogical. They suggested a different possibility. Second theory: certain business tycoons claimed it was KFC's owner who took revenge. After all, John had tarnished his brand's name. I think KFC's owner secretly did this. He's clever enough. He could do anything to protect his brand. And then, there was the most chilling theory of all. Third theory: John himself had done it. Some claimed they had seen him act in ways only a psychopath could. Definitely, John went insane from guilt. He punished himself. Maybe intentionally, maybe not. But others questioned. I don't believe it. If John really did this, then where did he go? The city is still living in fear. For years, the investigation dragged on, but no solid evidence was ever found. Only theories. And even today, the case remains open. So, what do you think? Do you have your own theory? Or do you agree with one of these?